how, when are we going to do it? So one question I was asked twice today, and I thought, okay, it's a good idea to talk about it a little bit, is do we have to have wudu when we're reading off of the Quran, off of our phones and digital devices and so on? Azaki, what do you think?
No.
Do we have to have wudu or not?
You're not touching it.
Because you're not touching it, and there's a screen over it, even if there wasn't a screen on it, that's something digital. Even if there's no screen, probably still the ruling won't hold. That ruling that says you have to have wuzu when you touch the Quran is for actual scripture, an actual script that's on paper or something. This is digital. I don't think it would hold even if there was a screen, if there wasn't a screen. But yeah, there's a screen on there. So what's for sure is on a digital device, phone, smartphone, you don't need to have wudu. That's one. These past couple of days I've gotten a lot of questions on watan. And it's important because if we don't know what our watan is or the place we're at, is it a watan or not, then we can't fast, we can't pray. We have to make sure that it's our watan, or we have 10 days that we're staying there. So I just thought it would be a good idea just to read off of what Amin Rastani says in his Minhaj al-Salihin and in his Farsi Tawzih al-Masail al-Jami' it's called. Because we had some questions, especially last night after the program. So he says we have 3 types of watan. The main watan of somebody, the watan that someone takes as their watan and it's their permanent watan, or temporary watan. This is in the Farsi Tawzih al-Masail al-Jami', which is a book that they just gave out actually recently, and they've worked on it. That's why I'm reading from it. Okay, so what are these? Each of these 3. The main watan, it says, that's the place where someone stays. It's the main place that they stay. That is usually the place where their parents are, and they were born in. Yes, that one lives there after they were born. Okay, that's one. He says. The next one, one's permanent watan that they take as a watan. They weren't born and raised in it, and their parents aren't there, and they're not living there. But it's another place that they had. Where is that? A place where someone chooses to live and reside in forever, for the rest of their life. We're going to be staying here for the rest of our life. Yes, sometimes things change, someone is forced to leave, but here it's the intention. You intend on staying in this place for the rest of your life. That is your ittikhadi watan, they say. The one that you're taking as your watan, and it's your permanent one because you're planning on staying there forever. Now there's a third one. That usually this is what we are dealing with. What is that? A place where someone takes as a place to stay and live in for work, for study, even though they don't want to stay there forever, for the rest of their lives. If they're there in a way that from an Urfi perspective, when you are there, people don't say, oh, he's a traveler. No, it's their place of residence. Then that will be your temporary watan. But it's a watan nonetheless. A place that you have taken as your watan and it's your temporary watan. Okay. And then it goes on to say, for example, so as a result, if a person plans on staying somewhere for 1.5 years or more, then that will be their watan. For example, he says a student that wants to go and live somewhere else to study. That will be his watan, for example. What if I want to go there, but I want to live there 4 days a week only? There's a whole chart at the bottom of this book, actually. There's a whole chart where he explains if it's 3 years, if you're planning on staying there like half of the week, then 3 years. I don't know. Then if it's a little bit less than 4 years. There's a whole chart here, and I can't explain all of it in this time that we have. But there's a chart. Now, question, and this is the question we get a lot. The brother who asked it, he's gone right now. Yes, brother. So we're talking about if I have a home. Yes, brother? If I have a home somewhere, Before talking about this actually, let me now explain i'raz or i'rad. To turn away from your watan. We have this concept. Right after all of this, Ayatollah Sistani, he explains. He says, that if you leave your home, you leave your watan, with the intention not to come back and live there anymore, whether it's your permanent watan, whether it's the one that you were born and raised in, whichever one of these two it is, if you leave that watan with the intention that I'm not going to come back here to live anymore, this is called i'rad. يزول حكم الوطن بالخروج معرضا عن السكنى فيه. بمعنى الاطمئنان بعدم العودة للسكنى فيه. You are sure that you're not going back to live there anymore. This will not be your watan anymore. No matter how connected you feel to it, no matter how much this is the place where I was raised in, and the walls talk to me, the alleys of this place talk to me, everything speaks to me when I walk in there. Let it speak to you. But when you're speaking to Allah, you do it in 2 rakats, not 4. That's what it is. So this is called i'rad. If I know that I'm not going to be returning to my watan, it's over. If you move out, it won't be your watan anymore. But if there's a chance that you're going to move back, then still it's your watan until you become sure you're not moving back. Clear? That's one. What if I leave, but I have a home there? I have a home, I have land, I have property. Does that count or not? Let's see what Ayatollah Sistani says here. He says, I hate it when I lose what I have ready for you. Yes. ذكر بعض الفقهاء, I'm reading this in Arabic for those who might understand. نحوا آخر من الوطن يسمى الوطن الشرعي. The fuqaha and maraj, Ayatollah Sistani says in his book, have mentioned another form of watan that's called watan shar'i. So far what we had was watan asli, main watan, watan da'imi, ittikhadi, what you take as your watan permanently, and we also had watan muwaqqat. That's what he calls it in his Farsi Tawzi al-Masail. The temporary watan. These three we had. There's another form that's called watan shar'i. And then he explains, what is that? يقصد به المكان الذي يملك فيه الإنسان منزلا. A place where a person has a home in it. It says that some maraja have explained that this is also a form of watan. قد استوطنه 6 أشهر. He stays in there for 6 months and he's not there for 6 months. Okay. قالوا إنه يتم الصلاة فيه كلما دخله. And these maraja have said whenever you go to such a place, you complete your namaz and you fast. But لكن لم يثبت عندنا هذا النحو من الوطن. For me being Ayatollah Sistani, it has not been established that there is such a watan. So even if you have property back home, Pakistan, India, whatever, if you have a home, if you have property and all of that, it does not count as watan. It has to fall under one of those other 3. If it doesn't fall under one of those other 3 that I mentioned at the beginning, it doesn't matter if you own the whole subcontinent. It's still not your watan. It doesn't matter how you feel there. It doesn't matter. If you have left and you know you're not going back, then it's over. And you can't fast there, you can't pray there full unless you stay there for how many days? 10 days. Any questions regarding this?
Yeah, I mean, if you go back, of course, the intention is we're not going to go back.
Okay.
But the circumstances force you to abandon.
Yes. And then you have to go back. So the question is now, I have done i'rad. I have turned away from that watan, and it's not my watan anymore. I come and live here. But then the situation comes up a few years later, for example, and I'm forced to go back and live there again. Yes? Will it become my watan again all of a sudden? Well, no, it doesn't seem like that. Once again, if you're going there to stay forever, then it will become your watan. Or you're going there to stay for a long time, 3 years, for example. It's your watan again, watan muwaqqat. That's the only way we can fix it, because you have turned away from it. It's not your watan anymore. It's not your watan anymore, according to this. Anything else?
What is the wording of
Al-Khanay is also similar to this. He also has this concept of i'rad, where I know if I'm not going to go back, that's i'rad. And that's not my watan anymore. The only difference between him and Amin Rastani in these three forms of watan that I said, number one, he believes in you, if you're born and raised there, not just born. This is also a point that we have to make. According to Al-Khanay, just being born somewhere doesn't make it your watan. You have to have grown there somewhat, like maybe 5 years, 6 years, 4 years, maybe, I don't know. They say you have to have numov, grown there too. Okay, that's one. That's watan asli. He also has watan ittikhadi da'imi, where you stay somewhere forever, you say, this is my place, this is where I plan on living forever. That's your watan too. This third one though, the temporary one, he doesn't say 1.5 years. He says, if someone goes somewhere to live there, with the intention to live there for 7 to 8 years, that becomes his watan ittikhadi. Okay? So we have this difference between these two maraja. Anything else? No. There was one more thing one of the brothers asked me. Let me leave that. Let me just say one more thing here too. If you go somewhere to stay for 10 days, this is something that has to be explained as well. Let's say I go somewhere and I'm planning on staying there for 5 days. It's not my watan. I'm planning to stay there for 5 days. Okay. Then I have to pray qasr and I can't fast. Okay. 5 days pass, and I'm like, you know what? We have to stay 6 more days actually. So what's the sum of that? 11. Okay. So 11 days is more than 10 days, right? So question is, these 6 days that I'm going to be here now, what do? Do I take the 6, which is less than 10, so I continue praying qasr? Or do I look at the sum, which is 11 and is over 10 days, and I have to pray full? Which one of these is it? Can anyone tell me? The sum? The 6 days?
6 days.
Okay.
6 days.
Democracy. Most of them are saying 6 days. Yes. It doesn't matter how many days you were there. Whenever you intend on stay, you have another intention to stay, they say from there onwards you count it. So here the 6 days counts. So you can't say, oh, the total was 11, so we'll take 11. No. If you're planning on staying, we say, okay, let's see how much you're planning on staying right now. You say 6 days. Okay, 6 is less than 10. The only exception is 30 days. If you stay somewhere 30 days with this intention of, you don't know how long you're going to stay. So for example, let's stay 5 days. Okay, you stay 5 days, let's stay 3 more days. Let's stay 4 more days. 8 more days, 9 more days. You keep going on like this, you never have the intention of 10 days. This, if it adds up to 30 days, then they say it doesn't matter. After 30 days, you have to do full, no matter what. But till 30 days, whenever you have the intention of staying 10 days, it'll count. Okay? Any questions on this now? You all already knew it, right?
How is practically applicable? Because Ramadan is next for 30 days.
No, this is not for Ramadan. Even outside of Ramadan. You're staying somewhere for 30 days like this. Should I pray qasr or should I pray full?
Even for the namaz.
Yeah. Yes. For the namaz too, yeah, exactly. That's a good point you're making. Because if we arrive somewhere in Ramadan, first of Ramadan, we don't know 5 days, 6 days, and you keep staying like this, when the whole month is over, 30 days, after that it's wajib for you to fast. Well, the Ramadan is over. Yeah? So, yeah. So if I am somewhere, as long as there's a chance that I'll be there for less than 10 days, even if there's a chance, that means I have not intended the 10 days, and I can't fast, I can't pray. Okay, this is also something that usually is asked. Do we have any other questions before I go? Okay, alhamdulillah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Alhamdulillah, one of the brothers just before I came up gave me good feedback that we've had tafsir. We just answered all of your questions and now you just arrived. We'll talk about it later. One of the brothers gave me feedback. It was very uplifting and heartwarming because they said that we've never had tafsir like this. Alhamdulillah. This is what we're after. To understand the Quran, what Allah is trying to tell us, and some of the deeper things that He's saying that we might not be oblivious to. Verse 17 of Surah Al-Insan. وَيُسْقَوْنَ فِيهَا كَأْسًا كَانَ مِزَاجُهَا زَنْجَبِيلًا. So we were going on tour, right? We were on a tour of Jannah, of what the Abrar are getting. So far, we're talking about silver, we're talking about crystal, we're talking about all this good stuff, and the shades and the fruits, and how you just sit back, relax, and you just will things, and it happens, and you're the one who gives the measurement for your goblets, and all that kind of stuff. Inshallah. Inshallah, this happens to us. The next verse, verse 17, يُسْقَوْنَ فِيهَا كَأْسًا كَانَ مِزَاجُهَا زَنْجَبِيلًا. They will be served therein with a cup of a drink seasoned with zanjabil. What is zanjabil? Zanjabil is translated to ginger. Okay, let's talk about this a little bit. Ayatollah Makarram Shirazi, I found this in his tafsir, which is a Farsi tafsir, it's not an Arabic one. He explains there, he says that back in that day, during the Prophet's time, there were two types of drinks. Once we talk about these two types, we'll understand why the Quran, in this surah, in the beginning it talked about a drink that has kafur in it, and now it's talking about a drink that has zanjabil in it. Kafur meaning camphor, and zanjabil here meaning ginger. He says back then there were two types of drinks that, it was the good stuff. They liked it a lot. One was an energizing drink, kind of like Red Bull today, that would make you lively, right? Wake you up. And apparently it was mostly intoxicating too, so it would be haram now. So to spice it up even more, what would they do? They would season it with what? With ginger, because ginger has a spicy, tangy type of whatever feel to it when you taste it. I don't like it that much myself personally. Anyway, so this is one type. And the other type, what would they do? When they would want to calm you down and drink something soothing, and they would probably drink it when it was cool, is the drink that they would put camphor in. So that explains what that other verse was saying. Okay, so energetic, ginger, soothing and calm, you have ginger. Now here, guys, once again, these are the best things that were out there back then. These were the best things that they had. So Allah is using the best things they have in that day and saying, look, this is what you're going to get. If there was something better, then Allah probably would have mentioned that. Right? Think about it. Well, you guys, the younger ones, you guys don't know what I'm talking about now. But think about it. Back then, when we were growing up, we had tapes. I don't know if you younger ones have seen it or not. Tapes, cassettes. Back then, in the cassette era, and I saw a little picture that someone had put up once, a pencil next to a cassette, and they had written under it, it was a meme, that the next generation will never know the link between these two, the pencil and the tape cassette. Right? What was it? Yes. Whenever it would get stuck, you would put the pencil in there and you would twist it so that you could rewind it or forward it. They will never know the link between these two. You're not missing out on much anyway. So, back in that day, when I was growing up, if you told us that there's something called an iPod, digital audio clips and all that, we would laugh. Something that when you want to forward it to minute 20, you just drag and drop or drag and release and you're done. Back then, you would have to hold your finger on there for about 10 minutes, so it would go to minute 20 or 25, 30, whatever. Yeah? But then, all of a sudden, this digital era arrives and like everything's digitalized and we're good to go. Okay, so now back then, if I was to tell you about something digital, you wouldn't make out what I'm saying. The best thing to offer back then was cassettes versus the telegraph or telegram, whatever. It was much better. But now, when we're sitting here, we're saying both of those are bad. Both of them are bad. Same thing applies to the Quran, brothers and sisters. These are the best things that can be offered back then. Allah is putting His finger on those. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's all you're going to get. All you're going to get on the Day of Judgment is ginger and camphor and broccoli. I've already explained this before. عَيْنًا فِيهَا تُسَمَّى سَلْسَبِيلًا, verse 18. From a spring. Now this drink that has a little bit of ginger in it, it comes from a spring. That's one of the interpretations of this verse. That's called salsabil. I don't think anywhere else in the Quran we have an explanation of what this salsabil is. Salsabil literally has different meanings. The best meaning I feel is a very good tasting drink that goes down the throat easily. It doesn't burn when it goes down, right? You might not even have to swallow. It'll find its own way down. Salsabil. The next verse. Not much to say here. Verse 19. وَيَطُوفُ عَلَيْهِمْ وِلْدَانٌ مُخَلَّدُونَ إِذَا رَأَيْتَهُمْ حَسِبْتَهُمْ لُؤْلُؤًا مَنْثُورًا. We have stuff to say here now. Translation. Once again, there's a little bit of a problem with the translation, but pay attention. They will be waited upon by immortal youths, whom when you see them, you will suppose them to be scattered pearls. Oh, so even the people look like jewelry there. Okay, tell us a little bit about this. It says they will be waited upon by these youths. Waited upon. The abrar, someone standing next to them waiting for them to just have a command so they fulfill it. They are waited upon. But when we look at the Arabic, once again you have وَيَطُوفُ عَلَيْهِمْ. Remember yesterday or 2 days ago I said tawaf. What does tawaf mean? When you tawaf something, you circle around it. You're circling it. Here when it says these immortal youths are there, what are they doing? They are circling around you. Maybe because it's so beautiful to see them. Plus, if you want to tell them to do something, if you're turning your head this way, there's one over here. You turn your head this way, there's another over here. You, for some reason, your head can spin 360 degrees, look behind you, he's there waiting to hear what you have as a command. Oh, that's so cool. So, the translation here doesn't really necessarily match the actual wording. That's number one. Number two, immortal youths. What does immortal mean? It means they never die. We've all heard of the fountain of youth, yes? I want to make a point here. Why do we call it the fountain of youth? Why don't we call it the fountain of immortality? Huh? Apparently, even in this world, when people are thinking about it, if there was a fountain that you dip into that you become immortal in, it's not that you dip into it when you're 100 years old and you stay 100 years old forever. Who would want that? What makes it so special is the fact that when you dip into it, you grow young. You lose all the pains that you had. As a matter of fact, Prophet Ayyub alayhi salam, his story, what happens? When he passes all those hard tests, a spring gushes next to him. That the Quran says, هَذَا مُغْتَسَلٌ بَارِدٌ وَشَرَارٌ. This is a place for you, O Prophet Ayyub, who had become frail, who had become sick, who had lost everything that he had, his children, his wife, his wealth, everything, but he still didn't give up on Allah. Allah rewarded him with a quote-unquote, let's call it fountain of youth. It's not a fountain of youth, but let's call it that. When he dipped into it, it's not like he became immortal, but what did he become? He became healthy again. Everything was returned to him that he had. Okay. So when we say fountain of youth, the reason why we don't say fountain of immortality, because who cares about immortality if you're going to always be in pain? And you can't walk and all of that kind of stuff. Here, when it says they are surrounded and circled by immortal youth that are serving them, immortal, not that they're just going to live forever, but they grow old and ugly and all that. No. Immortality, in real immortality, means that you become immortal in every trait and characteristic that you had. Your beauty, your health, your youth, all of these things are going to be there forever. And this is what Mufassirin explained here. They're not going to be living forever In other words, 100 years down the line, they'll still be serving you, but his old guy holding his bag is like, oh, what would you want from today as your breakfast? What I want today is for you to please leave me. And one of those huris to come instead. One of those wildan al-mukhalladun to come instead. Immortal means immortal in everything. Think about it. Why don't we call it the fountain of immortality? Why do we call it the fountain of youth? The youth has to come back to it. So here, these servants that are young and are serving, they have every good thing that you could think of, and they are immortal in those characteristics. But now the end of the verse says, when you see them, it's as if they are scattered pearls. Question. Is it better for something to have symmetry and be organized, or just to just be scattered? Which one is better? Well, of course, symmetry is better. Organization is better. So why is it the Quran here is saying that they are going to be, when you see them, they are as if they are scattered pearls? That's a question. Now here, I don't remember anyone explaining this. I think this is my own opinion, so it probably is no good. But let me just share it with you. It seems that when it says they are scattered, it's trying to symbolize and illustrate to us how these individuals, these servants, these youth, how they are running all about, taking care of what our commands are. Right? We have, apparently, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I have a lot of commands on that side, if I make it, inshallah. If I make it, inshallah, with your du'as. If I'm sitting there reclining on couches, man, I got a lot of commands. I got the list already, like in this dunya. I already know what I want. And what flavors of it I want. I got it all ready. They're going to be running around. So when they're going around just taking care of Shaykh Amin's commands, they're going to be scattered all over. They're going to be running all over the place because I got a lot of commands. Apparently, it seems that when it says they are scattered pearls, it's illustrating this point to us, that we have a lot of wishes, so they're going to be running to and fro. And maybe this also will cause a beautiful music for us. Just the fact that they're running around like that. Verse 20. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ, I'm going through these verses quick so we can cover as much as we can before these last 2 days are over, 2-3 days. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ ثَمَّ رَأَيْتَ نَعِيمًا وَمُلْكًا كَبِيرًا. If you remember, I said these verses, they have music to them. The verses of Jannah, they have music to them. In the Arabic language, as a matter of fact, those words that denote something pleasurable, usually they have they sound better than those words that denote something harsh and rash. And it's interesting. The Arabic language is like this. Those linguistics that have done this research, they say this. Here also the sentences are sounding very nice. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ ثَمَّ رَأَيْتَ نَعِيمًا وَمُلْكًا كَبِيرًا. What does it mean? As you look, you will see their blessings. There meaning over there. You will see their blessings and a great kingdom. I want to talk about this a little bit. This is one of my favorite verses actually. Sometimes you're in a forest, sometimes you're on a mountain, and you're looking at the details of the mountain, the details of the forest. You see the turtle, you see the whatever, the animals, you see the plants, you see the poison ivy, you see all of it. And it's astonishing and beautiful. Okay. Then you have a drone with a very high definition camera on it, and then you take the drone up into the air. What happens? And usually you see this nowadays, they do this in video clips, right? The drone goes up and it gets a far shot from that forest, from that mountain, from that scenery that you're in. Yeah? And then you appreciate it in its vastness as well. This verse sounds like this. It says, now let's take a step back. We told you about all the details in this Jannah that the Abrar are in. Look at what's going on here. Look to your left, look to your right. Things are circling, all that kind of stuff. Now let's get in the drone and fly out. You fly out, you see, wow. You see just blessings all over the place. And you also see mulkan kabira, a great and grand kingdom. It's like those movies where like a bunch of knights, right, or a bunch of people, they fall through a hole and they like enter like this new kingdom, and like from far away they see like a glass castle and like dragons flying there and things here and there happening and waterfalls and all that. From far away, like a huge kingdom, and you're like, man, they're supposed to make it to that castle and defeat the bad guy or the boss or whatever you want to call him. But look at how great this kingdom is from far away. How are they going to make it there? I'm just using my imagination. Cartoons, man, cartoons. So a great kingdom. Allah is saying, take a step back now. As if, take a step back. What do you see? I see na'iman, I see many blessings, like our iftar sufra. And I see a mulkan kabira, a great kingdom. It's coming, guys. It's coming. It's for real. In this month of Ramadan, we are told to recite Quran, read Quran. Right now in our Quran circle we have every day before we have the lecture, we talk about some of the points. We don't just recite. Talk about some of the points at least. We gotta understand what this Quran is saying. Because if it's just me and my aql, and I have to make a decision, I'll say, okay, I'm having enough pleasure here already. Equation is solved. Should I put everything, all my eggs in this basket or not? Yeah, because the equation, that's all you see in the equation. This life. Quran, reciting it, lets you understand what the equation really is, so you can make the right decision. Do you want this or do you want that? I don't see any grand kingdom here that I can have. I don't see all those good things that you were talking about I can have. We haven't even gotten there yet. Glass goblets of crystal, that the crystal is silver and all that kind of stuff. The best thing we have here is that Google Glasses thingy. What is it called? That's the best thing we got so far. I don't know, they haven't released it yet. That when that comes, it's going to be groundbreaking, they say. Alright, but like, what if I don't make it till then? What if I do make it till then, but then I die afterwards? I'm going to die eventually. So the equation, sometimes we're fooled. That's why Imam Ali in the Nahj al-Balagha, he says this dunya. That's why Imam Ali in the Nahj al-Balagha, he explained. He says, this dunya is like the skin of a snake. You touch it, it feels very, very good. But what happens is, when you turn away from it or you're not paying attention, all of a sudden it'll bite you. You're fooled. You were fooled by it. Because you didn't see it for what it really was. We have to get the equation right. To get the equation right, how many of us in here are good at math? One variable changes, the whole equation goes down the drain. One variable. One number, one digit wrong, it's over. The whole thing is over. With the equation of dunya, either you get it right or you don't. If you don't get the equation right, then forget it. If you get the equation right, then it's up to you to decide and to see whether it's worth it or not for you. But a lot of people, they don't even get the equation right. Lots of these bicharas right now in the world, they'll just take what the media tells them. They'll just take whatever their superiors tell them regarding this dunya, or get across to them that this dunya is forever. It's not forever, and it's imperfect. So that's what we have to do when we recite Quran, to get the equation right, so that we can make a reasonable decision. Okay. Verse 21. عَالِيَهُمْ ثِيَابُ سُنْدُسٍ خُضْرٌ وَإِسْتَبْرَقٍ وَحُلُّوا أَسَاوِرَ مِنْ فِضَّةٍ وَسَقَاهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ شَرَابًا طَهُورًا. This sharaban tahura. Remember this, let's put it on the side for now, because that's the end of the verse. This sharaban tahura, saqahum rabbuhum sharaban tahura, is something that the Greeks are running after. We'll talk about that. But before that, upon them will be cloaks of green silk and brocade, and they will be adorned with bracelets of silver. Their Lord will give them to drink a pure drink. Okay? Once again, translation has a problem. We'll talk about it later. the drinking part. Before that though, the green silk and brocade, what our sisters already have but us guys don't have. Yeah? It's haram for men to wear silk, we know that, and to wear gold. And not only that, it breaks the salat too. The salat is invalid if a man wears it. Okay, what is the difference between sundus and istabrat? Because apparently they both are silk. They say sundus is a thin and finely made silk, while istabrat is thicker, is thick silk. Once again, these are the best things that dunya has to offer. Allah uses them. And it's interesting. In a famous hadith by Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, how many imams did he meet? 5 imams he met. Yes? That I think the Prophet told him that when you see my grandson that has the same name as me, send him my salams. Who's he talking about? The 5th Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir. In a hadith by Jabir bin Abdullah al-Ansari, the loyal companion who went to Karbala in Arba'in time. Yes? He says in a hadith by, I think, Imam Ali alayhi salam, that there are 5 things that man is dying for in his life. The things back then. One of them he mentions is honey. And it's interesting. Each of the good things, the best things that the world has to offer, he explains how they come with something ugly, or they come out of something ugly. So for honey, he says the honey that everyone's after, look at it, it comes out of the bottom of the bee. And there's 4 other things, some of them I can't mention here. Then he says that man is after, but they are the ugliest, and they have to do with the ugliest things. But this is the best that the dunya has to offer. Allah is using these examples. Silk, where does it come from? I think another one is silk. Where does silk come from? It's that dead worm, you kill the worm, and you take it, whatever. I don't want to talk about it. Okay. So once again, in this verse, we have mention of silver. No gold. Someone might get upset. What about gold? And yes, we know some of our sisters, they like the gold more than the silver. And some people are nodding their heads because they've spent a lot so far. It's okay. It's okay. For this, inshallah, you get sawab. What about gold? Let me talk about a few verses that talk about gold so people don't get upset. 3 verses I have. Surah Kahf, verse 31. It says, "For such there will be the gardens of Eden, with streams running through them, in them. They will be adorned therein with bracelets of gold, and wear green garments of silk and brocade, reclining therein on couches. How excellent a reward, and how good a resting place." That's one. So gold we also have. Hajj 23, "Indeed Allah will admit those who have faith and do righteous deeds into gardens, with streams running in them." This is no dream, guys. This is reality. Streams running in them. "Adorned therein with gold, with bracelets of gold and pearl. And their dress therein will be silk." Once again, these are the best things the dunya has to offer. But what's for sure is the silk over there is different than the silk over here. Zukhruf 71. "They will be served around with golden dishes and goblets, and therein will be whatever the souls desire, and eyes delight," the apples of the eye candy. "And you will remain in it forever." This is also good. Sometimes you have everything, but you gotta leave. Some of these boxers, how much do they make? That guy, he made $200 million in one fight. $200 million. Like, what do you? And he says, "I'm after only bringing bread to the table." It's funny. They asked him, "Do you do the sport because of your love for this sport, or is it about money?" He answered, he said, "It's all about bringing bread to the table." How much bread can $200 million buy? And that's one fight, man. But this person will have to leave it eventually. It's not fair. It's not fair, dunya. It's not fair. Dunya will look back at you and say, "I know it's not fair, but I'm telling you, that's what I'm all about. I didn't lie to you. I didn't hide my true colors. You saw all the people before you. So it's your fault you didn't work for something that's eternal." It says they will be there forever. Okay. So gold is there too. But here, when it's talking about abrar and ibadullah and these higher individuals, what does it say? It says they have bracelets of silver. If you remember yesterday, I said the hadiths about how the silver of Jannah is different. Every blessing in Jannah will have something resembling it in this dunya. But there's one thing that doesn't have anything similar to it in Jannah. It doesn't have anything similar to it here. What is that? That's the silver of Jannah. So here it says, those abrar, what are they getting? They're getting bracelets of what? Of silver. Apparently the silver there is better than the gold there. Apparently, because these verses that I recited for you is talking about gold, but gold for the normal people that are in Jannah. But the bracelets of silver are reserved for other individuals. Okay. سَقَاهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ شَرَابًا طَهُورًا. Should I? Let's talk a little bit about this, and if there's anything left, we'll move on till tomorrow. We have lots of announcements. That's why I don't want to take up the time of the announcements. I'll leave with a question. The verse says, the translation said, their Lord will give them to drink a pure drink. Brothers and sisters, tahur does not mean pure. Tahir means pure. Mufassirin explain that tahur means purifying. Sometimes something is pure, very good. But still it won't be enough. Honey is pure honey, honey that doesn't have filth in it. But can that honey purify my hands? Can I wash my hands with honey if my hands are dirty? It'll make things worse. But then you have some things that are pure, but are also purifying. And to make it even better, it's not servants that give it to you. The Lord gives it to you. سَقَاهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ شَرَابًا طَهُورًا. Inshallah, we'll cover this tomorrow. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.